What's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker. This is WPwatercooler, episode number 161. Today's topic is sanitizing data stored in custom fields in something called WordPress. We're going to go around the room real quick, get everyone introduced. All the way on the far left in alphabetical order, Brian. Brian, tell us about yourself.
I am Brian Hogg. I am a WordPress developer. I teach the WordPress. I run the WordPress conference in Hamilton, and I'm in jolly old England right now.
Nice.
Awesome. Yes. David Arsenault, what about you?
I'm a WordPress developer, and I work at Zeek.
Sweet. Russ, what about you?
I'm Russ. I run Vegas WordCamp, the WordPress meetup here in Vegas. I just spoke at WordCamp Sacramento, and I am not Say Read Media on all the things.
I see what you did there.
Sarah, what about you?
That's called double exposure, by the way.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Layering. It's a new marketing concept. I suppose that is my
double exposure is illegal in some states.
Not in Vegas.
What about you, Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah Weefald. I'm the production manager at Zeek Interactive, and I'm Sarah Weefald on the Twitter, and I do the OC WordCamp design meetup the first Monday of every month.
Sweet. Say, what about you?
Oh, hi guys. My name's Say Reed.
Hi, Say.
And I love me some WordPress. Break me off a piece of that. And at Say Read Media on all the things. Make WordPress all the WordPresses. Do the things.
Nice.
Steve.
What about you?
I'm Steve Zehngut. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup.
Awesome.
So calm and collected.
I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me Jason Tucker on Twitter. I blog over at WPwatercooler and jasontucker.us. So, a couple weeks back, we talked a little bit about sanitizing all the data. And we wanted to kind of circle back around because one of the focuses that we wanted to really talk about is in regard to something called Advanced Custom Fields, which is kind of my favorite plugin to install and mess around with when building a website. So, we wanted to talk a little bit about the idea of sanitizing that data and what happens when you, say, disable Advanced Custom Fields, or if you're using some other plugin that you're going to be feeding data into it. What happens then?
Well, when I looked up data sanitization on Wikipedia, it took me right to code injection.
Oh, yeah. It's important to sanitize if you're going to inject.
So code injection is supported by JavaScript, right?
Getting warm in here. Quick.
I mean, I would use a nice cotton swab first.
David Arsenault, bring us back here. Tell us about code injection.
Well, if you allow users, random passersby, to post stuff on your site, they're going to try to do bad things, like sneak in a little bit of JavaScript that will be invisible to the casual passerby, but will have terrible power, and it must be protected against. They can also do things like do what's called an SQL injection, which can engage in a great deal of mischief.
It's like the Xkcd cartoon.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got it memorized. It's the 327 cartoon.
327.
That'll go in the show notes.
Like number 327. Oh, it's like the cartoon.
XK.
327.
They don't have search-friendly URLs there on Xkcd. They're all numbered.
Of course not. Why would they?
I mean, come on. All the text is in the photo. You might as well just go all out and just not do any SEO.
And yet still they rank.
So what are we really talking about here?
What are we talking about? That's what I was about to say. I was like, what the hell are we talking about? Are we talking about Clorox? Because
we're talking about,
that was a couple of
sessions
ago.
We're talking about forms. I mean, this originally came about when we were talking about user-generated content, forms, things like that. So when you have a form, when you have user-generated content on your site, you are open up to vulnerabilities.
Yeah. Well, so before contact forms were like this big thing, and you could let people input data on your site. Wow, I have a really wicked feedback. Anyways, you used to have you used to have to let people have a username and login to go into your WordPress site, and then they could do their own hackery in there. So now we have contact forms to kind of have that outside barrier to let people post blog posts on your site, but you need a way to filter what they are putting in, just instead of saying publish automatically. We need a way to go through and read what they're putting in before we just say, go ahead and put this in my database. And that's where sanitization comes in.
Well, you should always have a conversation before you say, "Go ahead and put this in my database."
But if somebody's making an exploit like David's describing, it doesn't matter if it's going to go draft or publish by default, right? I mean, the exploit's going to happen.
Well, it's already in the database. Draft
already in the database.
You still can't trust the data when it comes out, right? So.
Right. Well. So what you're
So
doing?
what do you do, guys?
We're getting there.
I tell my visitors.
We've got this is a very narrow topic. We've got to stretch this week. We've got to fill a half an hour worth of space.
Like all
We're only 5 minutes in. Don't forget.
Slow it down.
This is totally the difference between designers and developers, where we're trying to easily explain how to filter like greater than less than tags, and she's just like, how do you do it?
Hold please. I believe that you're making an assumption that I'm a designer because I have breasts. That's not what's happening.
No.
I'm not a designer.
Code, come on.
I'm not a designer.
It's just
I'm
we
just
know
impatient.
that David Arsenault should not be the designer. That's what we know.
I am just impatient.
What?
Continue on with your devolving of the problems.
Okay. We got derailed. Where did we leave off?
Escape HTML. Next question.
So, the thing is that you got somebody that's submitting something to the site, and that they're being stored in the database. You know, I tell people, write me a text file, leave it on my front door, and then maybe I'll put it into the database. No, but that's kind of that's kind of the thing is. That's kind of the thing there is that you need to be able to look at it before it even hits the database. And you know, Brian in the chat was saying here about using escaping HTML and kind of going through, getting that into a way so that it can't be weaponized, if you will, once it hits the database.
Well, yeah, but even if you are sanitizing and validating, you've still got to worry. You still got to not trust what's you're outputting, obviously, because someone could have direct access to the database, muck around, whatever. So you still got to not trust anything that you're outputting. But if you're allowing someone to blanket, so much crazy on the chat. If you're allowing someone to just blanket output HTML, then that's where do you stop, right? If you actually allow someone to put legit script tags and output it, how do you sanitize that? How do you know, poor?
So that's when you're saying you're intentionally allowing them to put code in.
Sure, yeah.
But then you have to basically screen the code, even another step other than even just screening for code and Xing that out.
Exactly.
Now you're talking about if you want code.
Yeah.
I don't know,
And
it
the
just blew up my
WordPress
brain,
side,
so I don't know what's happening anymore.
they have a full family of sanitization functions. So they all have names like ESC_HTML. And you can filter out raw HTML, attributes, contents of text area tags.
Oh, this is the kisses. I love kisses. This is my favorite thing.
And URLs.
It's right up there with WPCLI.
Yes, and Brian said in the text chat WPKSES. That's something like kill.
Let's bring this down to earth for 1 second here, okay? So if I'm using Gravity Forms, is the data sanitized for me automatically?
Yes.
I believe so.
I mean, was that a
question? Are you guessing? Because I feel like
I'm asking.
I follow through
the reason why we frequently end up using Gravity Forms is because it cuts down the amount of time we have to spend escaping the heck out of every single input we put into a website.
Okay, so can I make the same assumption about Ninja Forms and what's the contact?
Formidable.
Formidable Pro. And
I would like to make that kind of an assumption, but
that's why I'm asking the group.
Well, I would say yes, because Ninja Forms is on the repo, and I don't think Pippin would let a plugin go on there without escaping HTML, or Mika for that matter.
With web security, there's the maxim trust but verify. You get a plugin, you get its source. It's not supposed to be obfuscated if it's in the repo, so you can, in theory, go read through it yourself and see and do your own due diligence.
Right, but I mean, our audience isn't going to be able to do that. So I'm asking these questions because I don't want to make these assumptions. I mean, we're talking about some developer-y stuff, but if I'm already using some of the standard form plugins that are out there, is this just taken care of for me?
Well,
So
in
for the
September,
most part, yes.
in September, Sucuri disclosed that Jetpack vulnerability where you could put an email address in the contact form page and it would get stored, and then it would open that up. So I think that was blocked, though.
George, where's George?
Where's George?
I'm putting the link to the Sucuri blog in the chat, so it'll be in there. But I think they patched that, but that's the same type of thing, because it says in here the email is not sanitized properly for Jetpack. And I mean, that's what you would definitely assume, that the ones closest to the mothership would at least sanitize their data. So I don't think assumptions of sanitization is really a good plan.
But what kind of information going into the database do we need to look out for? Like, what are we sanitizing out?
So you're trying to, like, foreign characters, like when somebody's using a form, they should not be using a % sign. They should not be using the greater than, less than signs.
And then my name becomes everywhere. That's why I can type my.
So what happens if you allow that stuff?
So when you look at a website, you see all these pretty things like pictures and colors and text, but when you actually view the page source, you actually see all the code, and you see greater than, less than, brackets, stuff like that. So what you're doing is you're filtering out all the stuff that the server is going to process and turn into code and make it run and do something.
That was a great explanation. Thank you.
That was.
All right, we can end there. Thanks, Jason.
Goodbye. See you guys later.
No, just like I explain to clients all the time. I'm like, listen, you have this amazing website, but here's what your website really is this series of code, and here's how that link looks to a computer, not to the naked eye.
Is that like the internet is a series of tubes?
Yeah.
No, it's all ones and zeros.
It's a big computer in the sky, guys. Big computer in the sky.
No one's dead.
What?
Big computer in the sky?
That's what I like to start with my clients when I'm teaching.
It's wireless.
Listen, no one's dead.
Yeah.
No one's dead.
So,
Well, they'll just get imported into that big computer in the sky, and then we'll download our
Wow.
memories.
Yeah.
What was that, David?
It's wireless.
It's wireless.
It's in the cloud.
Wow, we are derailed central today.
I think this is going to go as one of our top shows.
So let's
Yeah, for sure.
We've talked about sanitizing going in, but what about the fact that when you're outputting that data, then what? Are you
You can't. You have to basically, if it's a number, it should be a number, and you treat it as a number. If it's a URL,
Actually,
it should be nothing but a URL. You got to check that when you output.
So what we're talking about is essentially making sure that the data that the user is putting in is the data that you're requesting, and that's about it, right? That's what we're talking about with sanitizing data. It's not like it's going through like some UV sanitizer or some other program. It's just basically confirming that the data you're asking for is the data you're getting, i.e., this is a number, or this is an email address, or this is all text and no characters, right?
Sure,
So
and not
that's
assuming.
the encompassing of sanitization. If you do that, you've sanitized your data. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, if it's not a number and you're expecting a number, then you got to treat it as that and mask it. But otherwise, yeah, you're in trouble. If you're assuming anything, if you're just raw outputting what's in the database, then you're in trouble.
And that's what's really cool about Gravity Forms is like when you drag a field in, you can say, okay, this is a phone number, and this is how the phone number should look. You can dictate how that phone number should read in the field, and then so you're essentially sanitizing it through that way too. Is you can put that filter on it.
To that end, though, there are a lot of forms that I literally can't fill out with my actual name because they won't permit me to. First of all, sometimes they're like 2 letters does not constitute a name. So
is it because you have the accent?
And then if I put the accent, no, I get axed out both times, like with 2 letters as my name or with the accent. So there's, I don't think you can assume that someone's name isn't 2 letters. But I understand the accent part, but when we're talking about internationalization, like that stuff needs to be included. There's some pretty standard stuff that I have not been able to put my accent on.
I'd be trying to change your name.
Yeah.
Well,
I want to be accessible.
to your credit, say we had that talk a couple shows ago about prefixing plugin data, and I said I was going to use your name, and you said say is not a good thing to prefix your plugin data with. I think that goes to credit that I can't say that word.
Internationalization.
I can't say that word. I have the worst word of the day.
The big wide world.
Yeah, but just going back, like I never thought to check to see the number of characters in a name. That would have never came up to me.
Don't you just love those password fields as well, where it's like invalid character and password? It's like,
what if I change my name to a
Prince
symbol,
changes
like
the name of that
Prince?
symbol?
Yeah.
Then you're dumb.
So,
The
okay,
Prince
what
symbol
happens
is an
if you're-
official letter.
Yeah.
The Prince symbol is the official letter. Is that what
Okay,
you said?
okay.
The Unicode people have an official letter for the Prince symbol.
We have a
what
real
if
question.
Prince
I haven't heard it yet.
is trying to enter that in? Can your website handle the Prince symbol in the same place?
So what happens if you
You
are
screener.
just blindly outputting whatever some weird thing somebody's put into your site, and you end up like outputting blindly a bunch of like PHP and SQL? What is the worst that can happen? Your site just looks like garbage?
It actually
All
causes a
to the
rift in the
gun.
space-time continuum.
Well, actually, what happens
like-
is if you're caught and they're using your site as to hijack it, because it's mostly they don't care about what's actually on your site. If this is happening, for the most part, it's using it as a relay for spam stuff, and then that's when you basically get flagged by Google, and then your client's blacklisted, and then you have to move off of Bluehost, and all sorts of things happen.
Yeah.
Or
You just went right to the Bluehost. Was
No, I just
moving off of Bluehost was the end. That's the end.
And through it.
I unhacked someone this week from Bluehost. That's all.
So whether you're on Bluehost or not, the end result is you've got to move off of Bluehost. It doesn't matter where it's part of any set of instructions.
Doesn't matter. Don't be on Bluehost.
But Endurance International is the internet.
So what can happen though is that somebody could write a script and it could display some information on a site, and essentially I could get your username and password to your database, and then I could hack my way into your site that way. So that's what we're trying to do. Is you're trying to stop people from outporting or exporting or displaying bad information, such as like
outporting.
I like outporting too. That's a good.
I think we should switch that.
Hey,
Could
that's got a patent pending.
Okay, so this is a bit of a leading question, but could this potentially destroy your database?
Yes.
Yes.
They could literally do anything that, like, if you're logged in as admin and someone has hacked your site with something like this, they could do anything as if they're you. So yeah, they could
they'll
delete all the posts, delete all the things.
But the thing is that when people are talking about this, everyone has the like, it's not going to happen to me mentality about this type of thing.
Oh, it's going to happen to you.
Yeah, that's what
It's going to hurt.
It's going to happen, and you're not going to be happy. And if you don't have multiple backups, you're going to have a site that's hacked as your backup, which I've had with a lot of different clients. You have like a backup that just keeps that one backup instead of like WordPress, which does the multiples. And then you've got your hacked backup, and you got nothing at that point. And what's really worse is if you're collecting data from your customers, if that data becomes vulnerable or is exposed, then you have to deal with that. You have to deal with letting all of your customers know that you were hacked and their data might be vulnerable, and if they have passwords, they have to change them, or if they have any useful information in there, it might be hacked. Who knows? So you just really don't want that.
Yeah, how do you think all those adult sites get hacked and their usernames have been...
You're just trying to get into adult?
What just happened?
What happened?
Oh, well, you know those high-profile dating sites, quote-unquote
Like
dating
Ashley
sites have been
Madison?
hacked? It's
Yes.
been...
We don't like have to not name them.
Yeah, it's okay. You can name names, David. We're all adults.
Trademark registered. Copyright.
Don't say Ashley Madison.
You
You said it again.
Was the Ashley Madison hack an SQL injection?
Actually,
Yeah, I'm trying to be. I think that's the whole point of this.
Wow.
Connect them through their recognition system.
So I was reading this blog post about it, and they defined specifically how they hacked it. No, nobody said how they hacked it yet. I don't think it was a MySQL injection. I think they took vulnerability of some scripts is what I think they did.
I think Ashley Madison's data was definitely unsanitized. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, good joke, good joke.
Every
Plenty
single
of
input
fish.
on that
They were
site.
throwing their passwords as plain text.
All unsanitized. The whole point of the site is unsanitized.
Unsanitized inputs. It's true.
But is it sanitized inputs if robots are the ones actually making
Oh,
the
it's true.
content?
Yeah, the whole site was bots, right?
Now, this is developer-y, but there's a way to throw all the worst stuff at it. There's a GitHub repository called Big List of Naughty Strings.
What?
Ooh.
This is the funnest show we've ever done.
So what constitutes a naughty string? Is that like 80085? Like, is that a naughty
No,
string?
it's more like
8675309.
all the
That's
quotes,
What?
or the longest single word in that you can pipe through.
I thought
a
that
system.
word.
It's
I
got
thought that word
all
was
kinds of crazy
word
stuff.
What are you saying, David?
What he's saying is that if you wanted to use this for testing purposes, you could take this big list of naughty strings that I just linked into the show notes here, and you could take that and use it as your way of trying to hack the site or trying to throw stuff at.
Like, you're talking about trying to hack your own site.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, as testing. Okay, I missed that somehow. I was
Well,
not. I was
That's
too
not
busy
what I was-
I hate
giggling.
to say this because of the people that I'm with, but you need to do penetration testing. And if you're not doing that, then what's happening is that you are just allowing your site to get hacked because you haven't done the penetration testing.
So you have
To
to
see if someone get in there.
wait.
Whether your inputs are sanitized, you've got to do a lot of penetration.
Say penetration again.
Just do it. No, wait. I want to just be clear about what we're talking about this. In order to check that you've sanitized your injections, you definitely need to penetrate your database with a big list of naughty strings. This is what I'm getting.
Steve.
Okay. Cool. Just checking.
That is exactly it.
Well, so as a plugin
We're all
developer,
12. That's what's happening.
Well,
So-
the problem. This is when you start like having all these double entendres, and you've got a room full of nerds.
Also, who names all this stuff? That's all I have to say.
So as a plugin developer, I offer software licenses, and so what I do is I wrote some code and I run a script that says check to see if this license is valid. Well, essentially, I found a problem with my code, and you could just enter 11111, and it would say yes, it's valid. So anybody could validate their plugin. So again, I
What's
had
that
to.
plugin's name?
It was called Say Read Media at allthethings.plugin.com.
Oh, good. It just saves up all your sites. That's awesome.
It just basically insults you in every way possible is what it does.
It just makes a bunch of snarky jokes.
But
It
so
outputs the big list of naughty strings.
but so
penetrates the site.
so I actually had to start sanitizing that data and making sure that two numbers should never ever be together. Like, it's very rare that two nines are going to be by each other. So I had to sanitize all that data coming in to check for valid licenses. That's another thing.
So if it's
Not just
very
looking
rare,
it up in the database?
Hold
Yeah.
on. If it's very rare, I mean, that's a weird thing to sanitize against, like two numbers next to each other, right? Because, like, that's going to happen.
Well, yeah, but it's not gonna be like everything that comes out is not gonna
And
have.
screw
two
that
numbers
one
next
guy.
to it.
You don't even care.
Yeah.
Screw him. What the hell?
But it's just to say that, like, if someone's going to try to hack your site, they're going to try to use 1111 as a pin code and then 1112. And so, like, you want to stop people from trying to run that many queries on trying to hack your site is what I was getting at.
Okay.
So what is, other than using kind of these pre-made, I mean, I guess that's the answer, right, is you use the pre-made plugins because they already have that built in, and you can set it so that it's built in. It's not necessarily happening unless you put that restriction on that field. So it's not like if you just bust open, Gravity Forms and do something without putting any restrictions on it, that it's automatically going to sanitize anything or check against anything. You still have to tell it what data you're looking for. So is that the best way? That's just it? Use a pre-made solution?
Well, if you're doing something custom, at least if you're non-techie, at least ask them about it. Are you sanitizing? Are you validating? And if they look at you funny, then maybe get a new developer.
I can copy one of those things from the Big List of Strings.
And some Clorox wipes.
Well, it seems like our takeaway from this is always wrap up your code.
You gotta fix it. I can't.
Wow.
Nothing
No,
left.
you can go too far in the other direction. I'm friends with someone whose last name is Null.
That's awesome.
Like in real life.
Yes, in real life. He and his wife, they have
Mr.
such
Mrs.
trouble
Null.
on the internet. Mr. and Dr. Null.
That's awesome.
Wow. It's like the same thing with my name. So it's funny because like I always think that sanitizing data is so much more elaborate than this. Like it's just so you're like Russ is saying, oh well, don't put two numbers together. I guess that'll work. Like how is this just so randomized? Like I don't know. The way everyone talks about it, I always thought I was doing something wrong or wasn't doing enough because I do all those things. But
so here's the thing: is somebody can write a script and if you are not limiting the number of logon attempts, like let's take logon attempts, if you're not limiting that number of login attempts, somebody could just write a thing and it's going to try 1111. 1112, 1113, and it's just going to keep going. So what I was getting at is like we know this now. It's been a few years that people try to do this. So if you can try to protect your site against people from doing that, you're not, it's going to take them 10 years to hack your thing because they're going to try sequentially every single time to hack your site. That's just something that I learned at a very early age that's how sites get hacked. Really early.
Very early age, like last year?
It was like when AOL 2.0 came out.
30.
I'm 30,
You know those QA tester jokes?
you were sanitizing your forms with AOL?
No, I was using an AOL connection, and then I was writing code. I was doing that.
Oh, wow.
Were you on local talk?
QA tester goes into a bar, orders a beer, orders -5 beers.
ASL.
Orders cat
Bartender
food.
owes him money.
So, is there any sort of I guess what I'm asking is there any sort of external thing other than what's baked into the plugins? There's not like a data sanitization plugins.
No, it's in core WordPress. A lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
You're just checking your own
You just have to
data.
use what's there.
Well, not only that, but like if you go into the comment filters, there's like bad words or words that you want to not allow in comments. I mean, there's stuff like that you can essentially hook into and put into your own plugin. There's core stuff like that. But to your point, yeah, there's nothing that just says WordPress database sanitization plugin. Yeah, like there's nothing like that. Which I think Steve is building, by the way.
No, it's a checkbox in the settings file. Sanitize.
It's just one checkbox that says, "Do you want to sanitize? Yes or no?"
Yeah.
And then you get like a little gift pack mailed to you, and it's like Clorox and like a.
I mean, is there ever any reason where you would not want to sanitize your inputs?
Well.
If you trust them.
Right.
If you're in a committed relationship. I don't know how to answer that.
If you really know your user, you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. You guys are really comfortable.
I think the answer to that question. I think the answer to that question is after a 3-day camping trip.
Russ, I want to know why you have two computers talking to each other on your shelf in the back there. They're like, do you see them? They're
kind of close.
They're in a timeout.
Well, Steve, when two computers love each other, very close.
They didn't
I see the
their
cables
data.
going between them.
They just sanitize their data, and now they have a little unit. They're just like living together.
I'm actually starting ComputerMadison.com.
I love it when we're 12. It's my favorite. I think this beats that social media episode, though.
You can't beat that episode.
You really can't. Everyone should go find it right now because it's priceless.
Jason, what episode number is that?
Oh, I'd have to do some Googling.
It's not. It's all, I thought it was all up here.
No,
I spent the entire time talking about how you shouldn't use social media.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty much what it was.
Yeah, that way to go, guys. I'm glad that you didn't get the former social media consultant on that show. You guys are
Yeah,
awesome.
we did it. No.
Well,
Best way to use social media.
to
Go.
be fair, Zuckerberg was in India. I'm just saying, like.
What? Sometimes, Russ, your humor. It's over here.
She
Brian,
said,
Brian found it.
56.
I found it.
61.
56.
61.
The do's and don'ts of social
No,
media.
it was 61. It was
Oh,
our
it's a
favorite
different
people
one.
to follow. It was our favorite people to follow on social media. That's the one that it was.
Oh,
And we
that
were
one.
like, what does that mean? Why are we following people? Who follows anybody? We're in social media.
We're such nerds.
Oh, and our
Wow.
readers.
We're supposed to
That is
do
about
not
it.
follow.
Oh, thank God.
That's it. That's it, right?
This is a good intro for Brian. I'm really glad to have you
So
here.
since we're
Thanks
talking,
for coming on.
since we're talking about social media, make sure you go to our website at WPwatercooler.com. Click on the links there and subscribe if you want to follow us and see all the
You can
stuff
do
that we're
that
doing.
follow
You can
thing.
click on the Twitter stuff there.
Hey,
Yes, Steve?
Jason, remind me never to suggest a show topic during the show ever again.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
It's committing too much.
You usually just do it, and then we just sit there.
Yep, that's about it. All right, guys, thank you very much for being on. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.